To start looking at structures of the brain, we're going to start with the brain stem. Now the brain stem is going to have three main regions to it. The most inferior, the one that's going to interface with the spinal cord, is going to be your medulla oblongata. You can see that's all the way down here. You then have the next one moving superiorly, which is the pons, or known as the pons varolii. And then above that, or more superior to that, is the midbrain section right there. Now, all three of these sections together are going to help with autonomic behaviors. So automatic behaviors here, things that you just don't even think about. They're autonomic systems. Things that are vital for survival. Think heart, think lungs, so breathing, heart rate. Things like that are being controlled by the brainstem. This also is the only way for information to enter and exit the brain. All information from your entire brain has to pass through the brainstem to get out. All sensory information coming up has to go up the brainstem to get into the higher orders. So give a perspective. The brainstem, you can see, is this colored area right here. You can see, though, how it has the whole huge brain above it still. So this is only one small part of the brain itself. And we're going to focus on the medulla oblongata to start with. So we'll get to the other two in a little bit. The most inferior of the three pieces is the medulla oblongata. It is going to be the interface between the spinal cord and the brainstem. It's going to have these things called pyramids on the anterior surface. There are two longitudinal tracks that run on the anterior surface. I'll show a picture in a second. But these longitudinal tracks are going to be motor relay centers. So sending information out of the brain. You then also, between these, have what's called decussation. Now, decussation is when information is coming down and crosses over. It's the idea that the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body. The right side of your brain controls the left side of your body. Decussation is where that impulses, those motor impulses from the right side, come down and a lot of them can cross over to the left side. So we have decussation here. So we're looking at this portion right here. That is going to be your medulla oblongata. You're going to notice these two longitudinal tracks right here. Those are the pyramids. And just right in the middle, you can kind of see this as zigzagging. That zigzagging back and forth is going to be where the decussation occurs, where the crossing over occurs. So the anterior surface, you have the pyramids with decussation occurring in between. Then on the lateral sides, we have these things called olives. But notice this thing right here is one olive on one side of the actual brainstem. The olives are going to be sensory relay. That means that's sensory information going up into your brain. So the olives are a sensory relay station. Now I mentioned automatic features, autonomic systems. Well, these are your vital centers, things you need to have functioning. We have the cardiovascular center. Now the cardiovascular center is located in the medulla oblongata. It's going to deal with both the cardiac center and the vasomotor center. Now I'm saying they're both part of the cardiovascular center because they both deal with your heart. The cardiac center is contraction, so the heart contracting, while the vasomotor center deals with blood pressure. So you're dealing with the heart contracting and controlling blood pressure, both from this cardiovascular center. But you also have the respiratory center, which controls breathing. So both the cardiovascular center and the respiratory center, controlling two vital functions in your body, are both located inside the medulla oblongata of your brainstem. So kind of some basic functionality here. That's one of the reasons why a lot of times your brainstem is referred to as the reptilian brain, because it's the same functionality as a reptile would have. Breathing, heart rate, blood flow, pressure, all these things need for other things to survive. So the brainstem is our basic functionality. And we're looking at the medulla oblongata as far as cardiovascular center and respiratory center. We have two different nuclei located here. We have the nuclei gracilis and the nuclei cutaneous. Now, these two nuclei are dealing with ascending sensory tracts. Remember, tract, bundle of axons inside the central nervous system. So having information come up to the higher orders of the brain. So it's relaying this somatic sensory information. It's a way of bringing it up into the brain. Now, medulla oblongata is one of three regions of the brainstem. Each one of the three regions of the brainstem are going to have a connection point to the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. It's the part that's sitting back behind the brain, the cerebellum. The cerebrum is what's up top. Can't get the two separate. So cerebellum in the back. This area right here that's kind of colored in red, that is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. It connects the cerebellum with the medulla oblongata. These three connection points we'll go through will be the only ways to get information into and out of the cerebellum. So cerebellum can only connect to the three different regions of the brainstem. In the case of medulla, the connection is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Cranial nerves. Now, the cranial nerves actually fall more in the peripheral nervous system, considering they're not inside the brain or spinal cord. But I want to mention where they originate here. We'll cover these more in later sections with the peripheral nervous system. Medulla oblongata has cranial nerves 8 through 12 originating here. You have cranial nerve number 8, which is your vestibulocochlear nerve. You then have cranial nerve number 9, glossopharyngeal. You then have cranial nerve number 10, the vagus nerve. Cranial nerve number 11, the accessory, or known as the spinal accessory. And cranial nerve number 12, the hypoglossal nerve. Now, for this part, just be aware this is where they originate. You don't need to know what they do, functions, purposes, or anything else. Just be aware this is where they are. When we get into the peripheral nervous system, we'll go through all 12 cranial nerves. Again, origins, functions, where they're going to, what they're doing. But for now, just be aware, all these cranial nerves are coming from medulla oblongata. So the first part of the brainstem, the medulla oblongata. Next up, we've got to get into the pons and the midbrain.